Welcome, this is the Web Component Development 2 video series. In this video, I'm going to talk about Java Servlet filters. So let's move on to the video. First, the servlet filter. What is a servlet filter? So a filter is an object that is invoked at the processing and the post-processing of an request of the server. So in other words, before and after the execution of a servlet for filtering the request. That is the main idea of the servlet filter. And the filter API or the interfaces include some methods which help to filter requests. To understand the concept of the filters, first we have to have an understanding of the concept of servlets. So basically it is an works as a servlet. So next we can see the usage of those filters. So basically the reason that we can use the filters to validate the data coming from the client, because through the server the data will be stored in a database, so only valid data should enter the database. So can we not to do this validation or add filters on the client side, because we can add filters on the client side too, but it is JavaScript based something, because if the JavaScript is disabled on the client side, it will be not good for the application. So we can check those things inside of the server side. That will be more effective. And these are some of the main usages that we can use filters. So recording all incoming requests, and then logs the IP address of the computers from which the request was originated, and conversions, data compressions, encryption and decryptions, and input validations. All those kind of things we can do using those filters. And then we can see the servlet filter API. So like servlet filters have its own API, the JavaX servlet package. So this contains three interfaces of filter API: filter chain, and filter config. So that is the basic structure of the filter API. Next we can see some interfaces, filter interface. So those are the methods which include in the filter interface. First one is init method. So init method is invoked only once when it is used to initialize the filter. And do filter method is invoked every time when the user requests to any resource to which the filter is mapped, and it is used to perform the filtering task. And other method is destroy method. This invoked only once when the filter is taken out of the server, then it used to destroy or clean the filter object from the server. And then we can see the filter chain interface. So the object of a filter chain is responsible to invoke the next filter or the resource in the chain. So it will call the next resource that is mapped in the chain, and this object is passed in the do filter method of the filter interface. So the filter chain interface contains only one method, and it is do filter. So it passes the control to the next filter or resource, and that is the main idea of the filter chain interface. Next we can see an defining of a filter. So we have to first define our filter in the WebXML or the deployment descriptor. So we have to first give our filter tag, and within the filter tag we have to mention a name and the filter class, and we have to map the filter for an URL pattern. So filter name is the filter that we have already mapped. We already defined the class, and we have to give the name as well as the URL pattern. So this is the basic way of defining a filter to the web application. And an advantage of those filters are mainly the filter is pluggable, and one filter don't have dependency on other dependency onto another resource, and we can reduce some maintenance using those filters to improve our efficiency of our web application. And next I'm going to show you some example code in a real life situation that we can use these filters. So let's move to that part. So I have created the web page. So I have created a new app. So I have created a new project, and I have created the index.jsp, but I'm going to use another two classes to create the filter class. First I'm going to create those classes. First Java class, I'm going to give as my filter one. I'm going to package name filter finish and I'm going to create a one filter. So we have to implement the filter class, filter interface, filter 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 Java X servlet filter. Then we have to add the all abstract methods. We just need only do filter, but I'm going to implement all those three methods over the abstract method. So first but I'm using only the do filter method because those are other ones in this situation I don't need to use, because if we can use those as well, but I don't need in this situation. I'm just using this do filter. So I'm going to print and just print in the server log. So the system out and print ln. So I'm going to give as filter one cold. So then if we can understand if this one is printed in the server log, then we can understand if this filter was called. So that is the whole process of making a filter method. And then we have to map the filter in the XML file or the web XML or the deployment descriptor. So I have created the deployment descriptor of this web application. Then I have to give the tags to define that is an filter for this web application. So I'm going to give first filter tag filter, and we have to mention the filter name. So I'm going to give as filter1. Then we have to mention the filter class directory, filter class with the package names as well. So this is my class name. Then we have to map the filter for an URL, filter mapping, and we have to give the filter name again, filter name, filter1. We have to give the URL pattern for the filter1. So we're going to give the URL pattern. So first then we have to mention the request that we are going to send. So before this one, I'm going to create a new servlet that I need to send the request. So I'm going to create servlet, and I'm going to give the servlet name as capital A. And now I have created the servlet as well. Then I'm going to implement the do get method, because I'm going to send and get request. We can identify whether a request was received for the servlet or not by putting and just print statement servlet call and request received. So this is the message that I'm going to print in the server log, and then I'm going to map my URL pattern as /a, because that is the same URL pattern as my servlet. You can see /a is my servlet URL as well. So now after that, in this filter class, we have to send the request into the chain. So to do that, I'm going to pass this by chain dot do filter. I told that chain interface filter chain has the do filter method only. So this is the do filter method. So I'm going to explain in a bit what is going to do in this by creating another filter. So just I'm going to present how this is going to work. So now I have deployed my project. I'm going to clear my server log, because we need to see whether this is going to happen, how it's going to happen. So this is the application. I'm going to send a request for this one, the servlet A. So I'm going to send a request. You can see filter one first called. In the first place the filter is called, then the servlet is called. This is the filter one, and that is the how way the filter is working. If the request is sent to the URL, that is the given URL, then it will first call the filter and then do the processing there. After that, then it will send that request again into the relevant servlet or a JSP page. That is the process of these filters. And if I remove this do filter and chain and pass the request for the chain, then we should not be received the servlet text or the servlet output. So that is why, because we need to put this one in order to go to the request, in order to go the request to the servlet. That is the main idea, and I'm going to show you how this is going to perform in the servlet chain. To do that, I'm going to create another filter by creating a simple class, my filter2 filter package. So again I'm going to do the same things as the filter one. Implement filter servlet, and I'm going to give all the abstract methods, override all the abstract methods, and I'm going to just use the do filter method. So I'm going to again print and just server into the server log by filter2 called, and I'm going to pass this again into the chain dot do filter request response. Again, that it is not just enough to create the Java class, we have to implement that in the WebXML as well. To do that, I'm going to just take a copy of this one, the previous mapping situation. Then I'm going to give separate names to my filter2 and 2. So in this situation, I'm going to give the same URL pattern because we are using those both filters to a same servlet. So that is why I'm going to give this /a URL pattern for both those filters. So now if I if I now run the application and send a request for the application, so for the relevant URL /a, then it should call first one filter1 call and filter2 call, and then after that the request was go to the servlet. The important thing is that it was called in an order. First it was called for the first filter and the second one, and after that then it was called to the servlet. So the filters are arranged in the chain according to the way that we are going to map inside of the WebXML file. So in here I have mapped as first filter in the beginning and the second one in the bottom. So that is why it was called in that order. Now I'm going to put the second one mapping details in top of the first filter. So if we now send a request and create the server log, and now if we send a new request, we can see first it will call the filter2 and then it will call the filter1, then after the servlet. So that is the important thing, that we can use these filters. We can manage the order of them as well as processes. We can use separate filters for separate processes for one servlet or a JSP page. So that is the important part of these filters, and those are very important when we are using those inside of an application for managing the application. And that is the whole idea of these filters. That is it for this video as well. Thank you for watching.